Hello out there, Boomer Time community. Nancy Kogar here, and welcome to Boomer Time. I've got a question for you. Actually, two questions. How many of you out there know someone, or maybe it's you, knows someone who is caring for an older adult right now in some kind of way, either part time or full time? Okay. Second question. How many of you know someone who is taking care of a spouse? Someone, maybe a spouse has dementia and they're at home, they're trying to remain at home, or maybe the other spouse is in a memory care unit, and you are hearing about just how much money it costs for that care. Two different scenarios. And I bet a lot of you out there can identify with one, or maybe even both. I know I can. And I know that I hear these struggles all the time. People want to know what to do, sometimes in response to that. But there's a lot you can do in planning too, as I always talk about here at Boomer Time. Well, I've got something new and exciting, and you've heard me talk about it before, but Boomer Time Blueprint, my first and new book, okay? So I want to get this in your hands. This contains all kinds of resources, information, stories, simple explanations of really complex issues in a way that I hope you walk away from this and you realize I have got to get my stuff together, and you'll learn how to do it and what you need and when. So I'm going to talk more about the book and what's in it and what you can expect, but I'm going to take a quick break, so I'll be right back. So welcome back. Nancy Kogar here for Boomer Time. Have you noticed something else that looks different in this episode? Well, I'm excited about my new set. I'm moving from behind the desk, and I'm going to be here. Let me know what you think. Hope to bring more guests in and have some interesting conversations, all with the plan of helping you to learn more about the aging process, the silver tsunami, all the aging in America that's taking place, and what you can do about it, how you can empower yourself, how you can empower your family. So today we are talking about my new and first book, Boomer Time Blueprint. You can order it on Amazon, and you'll probably see a link come up that will take you right to it. But wait to do that until after the show. You can also go to my website, nancykogar.com, and there are lots of resources there. You can contact me there too. So if you want to have a strategy session with me, that's a place you can go and reach out and get in touch with me. So Boomer Time Blueprint. Just like it sounds, I want it to be a blueprint for you when it comes to planning. A compass. I've got a compass on the front cover. I want this to be something that your entire family can benefit from. This is the kind of thing most families rarely talk about until it's such a crisis that they can't ignore it anymore, right? Well, I want you to do that before. I want you to do it when, you all know that something like that could be coming, but it's not looming over you. If you can do it that way, that's the best way. But if you've got a crisis or storm, brewing, you absolutely need to sit down and take care of some of these issues. I've got sample scripts. I've got ideas about when and where you should have these conversations, what you should be looking for if you're going to move out of your house, questions you can ask folks at assisted living facilities, at nursing homes, things you should look for, options for paying for that care, strategies that you can consider to try to make the money go longer, and most of all, right, protect your quality of life. Most people will say, I want to stay at home. In fact, almost 100% say, I want to stay at home. If that's the case, which, most of the time it is, you're going to have to make sure your house is ready for you, for older you, right? If you've been in the house for any time, you know its little creaks and you know its defects and you know what you meant to fix. Oh, I don't know, 5, 10 years ago, right? Maybe more. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making it more accessible for you so that if you do start to slow down, the house will have the supports it needs in place for you. That's part of the process, and I talk about some of that in the book as well. There are also an accumulation of different issues that most people just really don't think about, and I think it can cause real problems because in our lives, we all have circumstances, we all have issues, we have people that we love and care about. Sometimes they don't do what we want them to do, right? And sometimes they're people that we just don't want making decisions for us. These are all kind of the factors that I consider when we're talking about who's going to do what, when, and where. What are you going to allow them to do? And who do you not want making some of those decisions? This is critical stuff, especially when it comes to money. I have so many stories I can tell you about people that have lost their entire life savings, either from scam artists or, unfortunately, from someone related to them. Now, there's a right way and a wrong way to do things, and that is definitely the wrong way. There are things you can put in place so that a family member could care for you, even be the caregiver, and you can strategize to pay them over time for that care. You need a plan in place, though, a written plan that shows what they will do, not do, how much they'll get paid, and limits, really. They're not necessarily a caregiver. What is going to require more help? And how are you going to do that? Those are the things I'm kind of talking about. So everybody goes through this, even me. I mean, I am not only an elder law attorney, I'm a wife, I'm a spouse, I'm a daughter. I lost my father. I talk a little bit about that caregiving journey in the book. And now I'm a caregiver for my mother, who is in a supported assisted living facility. And she has special needs and has some things that are preventing her from living independently. And these are all things I'm charged with helping her with for advocating for her, just being there, right? These are things you have to think about. So that's what I'm talking about. And of course, there are other issues I just think normally you won't think about. As everything from what are you going to do with your pet, right? Or if you've got farm animals, here in Tennessee, that's more likely. You may have pigs, you may have horses, goats, so forth. That's property, right? You got to figure out what to do with it. I'm sure you care about your animals and you can do something to plan for them. People have special needs too, right? That requires some special planning for special needs. And there are things you can do, but you have to do them on the front end. And there's some limits if you don't do that. There are also some repercussions if you don't do that. Sometimes I'll say to someone, they have a grandson, say, that is autistic and lives in a supported home and gets grant funding. He's eligible for living in the home based on, that criteria that he met in the application originally when it came to income and his aptitude and what he's able to do and not do. What if grandma dies and leaves grandson, thinking she's doing him a favor, right? Leaves grandson $15,000. Well, that is most likely going to make grandson ineligible for that care he's getting. Now, I'm sure that's not what grandma wanted, right? But when you don't know any better, you don't know how to plan. So avoid those potholes. I call them mines because they really can cause significant damage. And I know you out there, I know that you do not want to harm or hurt your family. The reason for all the hard work in your life and for the planning towards the end of your life is to store up all those special memories. It's to leave something behind, right? It's to help the next generation. At least that's what it's supposed to be. Now I know there's some people that are a little harder to make your fortune available to them. You know, all our families have people like that. But believe it or not, there are some things you can do for them too. You can limit what you give them. You can direct how that is going to be given to him. You can make some specific requirements as far as what that inheritance can and can't go to. Maybe it's for education. Maybe it's for finding a job. Maybe it's for healthcare. It's not to go to Las Vegas and gamble away the inheritance, right? You can do those things. Why not? Why not? And that's a better way of handling your intention, right? To give someone something that's going to benefit them when you're gone. So just a few thoughts of things that, you will find in Boomer Time Blueprint. Lots of other stuff. I don't talk just, necessarily about money. I do talk about healthcare, things related to healthcare. You have a right to refuse medical treatment, but you do think a doctor is going to let you do that if you cannot communicate? No. And do you think that your friend or your daughter is going to be able to say, pull the plug, she doesn't want to be resuscitated, without any kind of directive that's enforceable? Of course not. Of course not. That is not going to happen. If it does, it leads to a whole other legal issue, right? But you have certain privacy rights. This has become even more complicated with, you've heard HIPAA. If you've gone to the doctor's office, they ask you to sign a HIPAA release, and you understand that you have to designate who can and can't look at your records. Same thing here. If you want someone to make decisions for you, when you can't, you have to provide who can, who can't, and when. What kind of decisions do you want them to make? It could be your life. It could be your life. That's what we're talking about here. Not just property, not just, houses and cars and cash and jewelry and whatever. I'm talking about your life. And that has value too. So these are the types of things I really want you to spend more time thinking about, because here's the alternative when it comes to the book. I've said this before, and it's been a while since I've said this, but America is getting older. All those baby boomers, all of them that were born post-World War II, and everybody came home and was making babies and turkeys and all kinds of stuff, enjoying life. Those boomers who were born in that age group are now older. They are a huge demographic. In fact, 10,000 seniors, or older adults, I like to say, 10,000 older adults turn 65 every day. Every day. And if they're not making decisions and strategies about how they're going to care for themselves or have others care for them. That's a scary place to go, let me tell you. I do not want you to go there because at the same time, there is more pressure on the system. There is less available in a lot of places just because of cost. So these are really serious issues that I want you to think about. And if you don't, you're not going to avoid them. You just won't be prepared, right? You just won't be prepared. So don't do that to yourself. So what do? Well, I would say go buy Boomer Time Blueprint. And it is available on Amazon. As I've said, it's got an audiobook if that's your thing. We've got paperback, hardcover, so forth. Let me know what you think. It is the type of book that I wanted to create action. So there are resources on my website. I talk about that all the time, but I've put resources there as we've been preparing for the book that can help you through some of these issues. I want you to move forward. I want you to have progress. I want you to have the right plan in place. Not a generic one, not one that would work for your neighbor. That's not going to work for you. Not something you pulled off the internet. Don't do that. That scares me. Don't do that. You need something that is specific to you. Because if you find out later that it's not enforceable or it doesn't have what you need in it, it's too late. So I really hope that Boomer Time Blueprint becomes a great resource for a lot of people. And that would just make me feel great because I don't want you to get in those circumstances. And even if I can't help you here in Tennessee as your lawyer, I want you to know who you should look for where you are. What kinds of things should they know? What kind of questions should you ask? We are all different. Not all lawyers are the same. And we have different practice areas. So make sure you go to someone that has estate planning as their most significant part of their practice. Elder law, even better. Understands and is sensitive to the issues that come up as you age. You wouldn't go to a personal injury attorney, right? I wouldn't come to me for personal injury. No, please don't, okay? We are all different. So you got to do some legwork and figure out who is the best person to talk to about this issue. So I've even got sample questions that you can use to interview and decide if you like the person. That's another thing, right? Not everybody is likable. So you may not, they could be the greatest lawyer in the world, but maybe they're a real jerk. I know a few of those. So anyway, I'm hoping all this is really helpful to you, and I am very excited about it. So go and get that book and start working on your plan. I'm trying to eliminate every excuse that you could have in the book. So thanks for being with me today. Remember to like and subscribe to the podcast. We have how many episodes now? I think this is 106. So there is a huge library. Go back and listen and watch some of the previous podcasts. I even refer to those in the book, by the way, because they are a treasure trove of information. And if there's something that you don't find, let me know. I want to cover the issues that you're thinking about, worried about, concerned about. So, all right, friends. Well, I think I've said enough on this today. So I will see you next time. And I hope you get that book, and I hope you start reading it. I'll see you next time on Boomer Time.